Welcome back, guys. My name is Ajay Pramar. If you are watching this channel for the first time, today I'm going to share Excel pivot tips with you that for any data analyst, they are going to be very useful and they can enhance your productivity, right? So these are the secrets which many of us they do not have any idea about it. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to share that with you. So let us start this, and before we start this, I request you to please subscribe the channel, and in case if you're looking for any specific type of a lecture on M code, Power Query, Excel VBA, Access VBA, Python for data analytics, just let me know about it. Okay, so what we are going to do is let's start. So first of all, let me just go and delete this. Okay, now you see we have a pivot table here. Okay, we have a pivot table here. Now the first thing which I want to tell you is that whenever you add any extra column or whenever you add any extra row, right, pivot on refresh doesn't take those data points automatically, right? So what is the solution? What is the simple solution for that? I'm just going to say that, okay, so I want to insert a table. You can even use the Control T, and this is my data. As you can see, my table has headers. So just click OK. And here you can give the name. So if I say that, okay, my table name is PVT TABLE, for example, I press enter. You can go with the by default name also, but make sure that you remember the name. So that's why I have actually given my the name I have changed it. Okay. So now once this table has a name called PVT table, you can even go and check in the name manager under the formula tab that this has a name which actually this refers to the sheet, which is stats sign of exclamation and the range. You cannot edit it, obviously, right? If I'm just going to click on the edit part, you see I cannot. Okay, so anyways, you don't need to edit it if you think that if you are creating this from the perspective that whenever there is a data addition, then those the new columns or the rows, they should automatically reflect in our and the pivot. So let me show you now. First of all, we will simply go and create the pivot. So now what you have to do, you can insert the pivot table. You can even go and use the Alt DP. Okay, Alt DP. For example, if I use the Alt DP, this is a shortcut key which we used to have. We have been using this since Excel 2003. So in this case, you can just click on the next, and this is the window where you have to go and write here the name of that table. Okay, you can directly also use the insert pivot table. It's up to you. So I'm just going to say finish. And you can see that I have got the data. Now, for example, just to demonstrate that if we have got the data or not, so I'm just going to put some dummy data here. Let's say we want the data city-wise, and let's say I want the quantity-wise the data. Okay, this is what the data is all about, isn't it? Now, if I go and let me just give this a color. Okay, so I will just put here, let's say the testing header. Okay, and I'm simply going to give this a number called 111. Okay. Now let's come back here and let me first of all refresh the table. So I'm going to refresh it, and then let's click on the show field list, and let's see that if we have the field here or not. You can see that we have got the field. So if I go and put this, I can use the field. Okay, this is superb. Now, again, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete this. Okay, I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to actually delete two columns. So I'm just going to say Alt ED, which is simply to delete the columns. And this time here, okay, here, let's say I'm going to add some. So first of all, what we will do, we will delete these. Okay, I'm going to delete this, and let's come back here and let me refresh this. Let's see that what is going to happen. You can see that the city 1, city 2 has gone, and here also that column has gone. This is wonderful. So it means addition, subtraction, both are working. Well, one more try we will give, and I'm just going to add another row, a new row, and here, let's say we will say city testing. Okay, you see that? Now let's go back here, and I'm going to refresh this data. And once I have refreshed the data, you see that city testing is there, right? So wonderful. So it means that what I have to do next time is that I simply have to convert this into a table, right? And converting a table means by simply saying Control T, or maybe you can say insert, and then you can use this option table. Okay, right now it is already converted into a table, so you don't see this option. Okay, and please remember one thing, anytime if you want to convert this into a data, not as this table, then you can go in the table design and you can say convert to a range. Okay, but for pivots, this is wonderful. Okay, this is the first thing that we have learned, that using the name manager. Okay, well, actually, it's not a name manager. I should say it's actually simply creating a table out of it. So I'm just going to write here that creating a table, because name manager is another thing. There you basically use some offset functions, which I will obviously not discuss here. There also, I mean, you can create the name managers, and it's again the type of the table that pivot can use. So you see, when you have a data like this, so these quarterly sales and the month sales, what we can do is we can go in the insert and we can use this timeline also. Okay, not the slicer, the timeline. So if you click on the timeline, this is what I want, which is date. Obviously, you need to have a data field in your pivot. So you see that I have got here the timeline. This is very, very easy, right? So from here, the first thing is that from here, you can just go and change these options. For example, if I'm looking for year, I have, let's say, 10 years of data, and I'm trying to figure it out, which year has gone up or has gone down, in terms of sales or the revenue, whatever. So you can use these options. If I click on 2022, it's going to give me the result of 2022. I can similarly click on 2003, and I can even stretch this. You can move this. You can just go and stretch this from left to right or right to left. So this means that the date now is actually we have the 2022 and 2023 in this way. Okay, so if I, let's say, want to shift this to the months, so I can use this month as well. Now you can see here that I have got the data here 2022 to 2003, and if I click on any of the month, you see that my performance actually will go and change accordingly. And anytime if I want to just, let's say, I want to see the April, May, and the June month performances, I can go and use that as well. Okay, and if you noticing here that it's saying me that this is actually Q2 performance, but that is something pivot is going to take care of it. Okay, so this way you can use this the timeline, and when you click on the timeline from here, you can change the formatting as well. I mean, you can use these different colors if you want to go with the theme. Okay, and from here you can change the height and the width. For example, you see that this is for the width and this is for the height. So in this way, I mean, you can go and use this. You can change the size. Okay, and scroll bar is available. Scroll bar is basically for this, in case if you think that there are too many fields you want to scroll, it is required, so you can do that as well. Like in my case, I have 2022 and then I have 2023, in this way, right? So we can scroll as well, and I can just go and take this to the, maybe if I want to select more, let's say few of the months from 2003, I can do that as well. Wonderful. This is a header option. The header one which you see here right now, which is called the date. I don't need the header. For example, it is understood that this is this is all about the date. Okay, so I mean, this way you can simply go and use this. Time level basically refers to this. Obviously, I need this, so I'm not going to uncheck it, right? So I just want that my user, if he wants to switch to any of these options, he can. If I say quarter, you see that I have got the quarterly performance here as well. Okay, so this is a wonderful thing. One can always use this the timeline, if you are creating the pivots and you are creating the dashboards as well. Okay, now what is the next thing? So next thing I want to tell you is that now for example, if you see here, let me first of all show you what we have done. So you see here I have created an extra field, which is the total revenue. Let me just remove this. You see, generally what happens if you have to do any calculation in your data. For example, I want to see the total revenue, and let's say that we have a total revenue based on the quantity multiplied by unit price, right? This is what we want to do. So I have seen that many people, what they do, they start multiplying the things here. And then, this also creates unnecessarily, you are actually adding a one column. You need not to do that. Why? Because we have the calculation also, which can happen in the pivots. I'm just going to give you a very, very easy example. Now, for example, you want to say quantity minus unit price. Let's say, I mean, you can do whatever you want, right? So make sure these fields are a part of your this value section, first of all, here, because only then you can do the calculation. So what you have to do is you just need to go and, in this, under this pivot table analyze, you have to find out that option which is under this calculated field. So you click here and then you start typing the field. Now, for example, if I say that dummy, for example, I'm just, okay, so I say that, okay, so this is actually revenue, for example. Now in my revenue, let's say the calculation is, as I said, that quantity multiplied by unit price, well, which I've already calculated, but let's say I say that any quantity which I have, I want to subtract, let's say 1000 from that. Okay, let's say you just need to add this field here. Okay, once you add this field, what happens, and you click OK, you see the revenue is going to be available here. So now you can see 3211. If I subtract 1000 from it, this is the number. Okay, any point in time, if you do not want this to be shown in the pivot, you can simply go and uncheck it. And if you want to remove this permanently from your data from your pivot, then you have to go back to the pivot field, and here in the calculated field, what you have to do is you just have to find out that particular option, like see, this is the option, and I say that now I want to delete this. If you go and say delete, it's gone. Okay. And similarly, I mean, you can just go and delete this. At the same time, if you have to go and modify it, you can also go and modify this. Now you are in the modification mode and you can modify the calculation as well. It's up to you. Okay. So calculated field is something you can definitely save a lot of time, especially you don't have to add or subtract anything in the main table. Well, calculation, you can't do all type of calculations for that. We have already power pivots. I mean, it has no comparison with the DAX, right? Well, I mean, by any chance, please do not misunderstand me when I'm saying that you can do the calculations. I mean, all type of calculations you can't do in this pivot. That's why we have the power pivot. But generally, small calculations you can definitely do that. Okay. All right. So the next thing which I want to talk about is you see that we have created here the conditional formattings, right? We have created these conditional formatting. So conditional formatting, creating a conditional formatting is very easy. First of all, if you have to remove the conditional formatting, you just go and select the things and just click here in the condition and say that, you want to go and remove this from the selected cell or from the entire sheet. It's up to you, right? Many people think that conditional formatting is not possible in the pivots. Well, yes, it is possible and it has the same rule. You don't have to do anything special. Now, suppose we have here the pivot. You can see here, I have created here actually one is quantity and unit price. But, in the column section, we have these bars, crackers, and snacks, all that. So we have put the category here, right? So first of all, understand the layout of this pivot, right? Now, because of this, you can, now in case if you're specifically looking to just select the specific data like this, and you want to do the formatting here, you can do that. But let's say I just simply want to go and do the formatting on the quantity field and not on the unit price. Well, then, it doesn't make sense to go and select these things one by one, isn't it? Right? No, it's not like this. We can just go and hover the mouse on this quantity field and you see there is an icon. The icon sign is changed. It's a black arrow. And when you click here, you see automatically the quantity gets selected. And this is where then you have to go in the home tab and now you can use the conditional formatting. Well, let's say I simply want to say that I want to create the data bars. So you can, you see that based on the values, the data bar you can create, right? We all know these data bars, right? You can even have the color scale also in case if you're looking for, or maybe you can highlight the cell rules. I mean, it's all up to you, whatever you want to do, isn't it? Like, for example, I want to highlight the top 10 items in this field. Well, you can do that. Well, I'll go with let's say the simple thing, which is color, for example, which is green, yellow, and red. Okay. So now you see that we have got actually here the fields with the color, right? Anytime if the data changes, obviously these numbers will change and the conditional formatting will also change. Okay, so I have added, let's say, these two rows with the categories X, Y, Z. Now let's go and refresh this and let's see that how this is going to behave. Okay, so the moment I do that, you can see that it has picked up the new category, which is obvious thing, but you see the conditional formatting is also there. Now I'm going to give it a number, maybe greater than something. Let's say, okay, I'm just going to give this number as 2000 and let's come back here and let me just refresh the data and let's see the color of this particular value. You see that the color of this value actually has changed now. Okay. Now, anytime if you want to go and remove the conditional formatting, as I said, because we have applied this in the quantity section, so I can simply go and say that, okay, clear rules and from the selected cell, and you see the conditional formatting is gone. Okay. So conditional formatting again is very, very easy. And let me just go and remove this data. All right. Now, the another thing is that the sorting. Now in the pivot, you have seen that the sorting actually is pretty easy, right? Now, this is a pivot where you can see I have only the city in the row section. First of all, see that. And the tip which I'm going to give you, please understand one thing, that this is only when you have just a one row level here. I mean, there's no sub level here, right? So I have a city, product, and the quantity here. Now, anytime if we want to sort this data based on the grand total, for example, it's very easy. We can just go and say that here, I can say data sorting, all DS, or you can use that data. And you can sort the data, isn't it? We can sort the data. So the sorting option comes, and from here we can choose descending, ascending, or whatever we want, isn't it? Now, for example, I want to just keep this as, let's say, ascending order. Now, ascending order by what? By quantity, because I am looking for the quantity. So by default, this is going to actually sort the data based on the grand total. Let's pay attention here. Now, you see that this is actually has been sorted in the ascending order, and based on that, we have actually sorted the cities, isn't it? Now, what happens, let me ask you that you are not actually looking for this. Let me undo this. Maybe you're looking for a sorting which you can do using the potato chips, for example. Now, that is something which is not possible in this pivot, because when you go and select any of these options, they don't give you the specific column option. So you select the quantity and this is how it happens. Okay. So grand total happens. So what is actually the, what is the solution for this, right? So what you have to do, please pay attention. Go to the blank column actually here, the blank cell next to the grand total, right? Not here, just here, okay? And now try to apply the filter, right? So we can apply the filter like this. See, I have applied the filter. The filter comes very nice. But once the filter comes, you know that filter has this option. So I'm just going to say now potato chips. I'm going to click here and I'm going to say that smallest to, the largest. You see that the numbers in the potato chips are actually sorted, isn't it? This is actually a beautiful option. So again, if I click here and I say that I want to sort this data now, largest to smallest, you see that now the entire pivot again is changed, and this is actually now sorted from largest to smallest. Obviously, you have seen that when I'm sorting, the pivot size changes. Well, that is something I'll tell you in some another video. We have the options. You can always go and right click and you can use the pivot option. Anyways, so this is how actually we have this, the data. I mean, we can go and sort the fields as well, any specific field. As I said that if you go and add any field here, then this is not going to work. So please make sure you remember this. Now you see that here I've got some, the cities here. Now let's say I want to go and group some of the, cities here. You may have more values, so how you can do that? For example, I want to just go and, say that this is, let's say tier 1, tier 2 city. So select these, right click here and say that you want to group them. So the moment you say group, you see the group 1 option comes, and here you can just go and say that, okay, so this is going to be, let's say T1 city. And then about the other cities as well. So you again go and select them and just say that I want to group them, and see the group 2 is coming. And then let's say this is going to be T2. And the last one is, if I try to group it, see that. So you can't group actually that selection because it's the last one. So I can simply go here and need not to group it, and I can say that others, for example, like this. Fine. Okay. And if you right click here and say that field list, you see that we have actually created here this particular field city2, and you can, go and name this something else. So I can say that, levels, for example, and you have the level field here. So anytime if you don't want to use it, you can uncheck it. If you want it back, you can always click on this and this is going to be there. Okay. You see that? Fine. And if you actually want to delete this, well, if you want to delete this particular thing, then, you just have to right click and you have to say ungroup. And not only this, the another thing is that you can even sort them, right? So if I want to sort this, I go in the sort and I say that, I want to, let's say, sort this in the descending order, and I can use this level here and I click OK, and let's see what is going to happen. See that it is now sorted T2, T1, and then others, isn't it? And at the same time, if I want this sorting in the ascending order, I can do that as well. So what I'm doing right now, I'm simply using Alt DS. You can use the data tab as well. So ascending and the lever, and I click OK. And you see that this is now the ascending order, because if you go alphabetically, O appears first, O appears before the T. So that's how it is done. So grouping again is a very nice option, especially in a case when you have lot of, the tabs, the categories, and you want to go and keep them under some particular, the tab, under some particular section only. All right. So I hope you have enjoyed all these 5-6 amazing tips, and I use this a lot, and these same type of the knowledge, I share in my courses as well. So please let me know in case if something is bothering you, something is, something you want me to discuss with you on all those data analytics topics which I teach. And please be a part of the channel, and I will surely try to answer each of your queries as soon as I can. So thank you so much and have a wonderful day.